All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Anderson. I am with the IPM Institute of North America, and I lead and manage the Midwest Grows Green Sustainable Landscaping Initiative. This is another one of our lawn and land forum interviews with practitioners covering sports and recreational field management. This interview will focus on. And today we're excited to have Arno Harmsen, who is the co-founder of DrainTalent. We are talking really about field construction, how you can improve the drainage of your sports and recreational fields. And once you improve that drainage, how that will improve the performance and allow you to significantly reduce synthetic pesticide and fertilizer use. So thank you for joining us, Arno. I would just first like to ask you if you could describe your background and how you are personally involved in integrated pest management, natural lawn care, or sustainable landscaping.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Arno. I started as a landscaper 20 years ago, 30 years ago already. And I moved to the turf grass industry 10 years ago when I started as a consultant. And from day one, actually, for me, it was not even a question. The IPM not using pesticides, herbicides whatsoever. So, it's a bad thing most of the times if you have to use it. And I'm from the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands, or mostly in Europe, the restrictions are getting harder and harder on using herbicides and pesticides, which is a good thing. So yeah, that's why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm interested. So you have that work in the Netherlands as well as Europe. I'm not so familiar with the policies, especially in the Netherlands. Has there been a lot of new regulations on herbicides? And is that one of the main drivers of why you came up with DrainTalent as well as your sustainable landscaping practices?
Yeah, well, it's for a long time already in the Netherlands that you're not allowed to use herbicides or pesticides on sports fields and golf courses. And over the years, we have learned to work with it. It's not easy. Sometimes it's really a challenge. That was one of the reasons to come up with the DrainTalent. That's why the other reason is cancellations of matches, because the drainage wasn't doing well on the sports field, and we wanted to come up with a solution for that. So yeah, it worked out well.
Mm-hmm. And just to clarify on the restrictions, because that's very interesting to me, is that restrictions on just synthetic pesticides, or are there certain like herbicides that you can use on your fields?
Synthetic and herbicides, both of them. So
okay.
Yeah, it's for stadiums. I don't know. I'm gone now for 4 years, so maybe that's changed. But for sports field, it's not allowed. Only if it's really, really bad that you have so much weeds in the field, and then there's no other solution. There might be a chance to use it, but then you really have to ask the local authorities for using that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I guess this is a good time to ask you what DrainTalent is and how it could potentially support integrated pest management or sustainable landscaping programs.
Yeah. The DrainTalent is a system what can to optimize the moisture level in your soil. You can install it on a feet below the surface, the drainage tiles, and then the DrainTalent, when it starts to rain, is extracting the water out of the soil. And when there's drought, you can bring in the water into the soil. The benefit of that is when we infiltrate the water into the soil is that you don't need the irrigation, the sprinklers anymore. One of the things of irrigation, especially on warm days, is that you get fungicides on your grass. With DrainTalent, that's less because the water comes from below. Another thing is because the water comes from below, the roots go down. If you use the traditional irrigation system, the sprinklers, water comes from above, and usually it's cold water, so that's stress for the plant as well, for the grass. And it's coming from above, so the roots stay high. And we definitely see with DrainTalent that the roots go down searching for the water. We can optimize the moisture level 24/7. So you get very healthy and strong plants. And when the grass is healthy and strong, it's less vulnerable for diseases and fungicides. So also strong and healthy grass, when you play on it, you can play more hours and you get less divots, and because of that, less weeds.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go straight into the largest challenge that I can see with DrainTalent. And I mean, it's the largest challenge here in the Great Lakes, and that, as I let you know, a lot of our soils are clay soil. And so I know we mentioned, clay soil, of course, it contains, or it holds on to water a lot more stringently than sand soils. Everyone kind of knows that fact. And, that could obviously cause, it could cause less efficiencies for the DrainTalent. And it looks like that if you're going to use DrainTalent, you need to have more of a sand soil. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So
Right.
How do you address that concern with a lot of clay soils out here in the Midwest? Have you worked with transitions? The first question is, have you worked with transitions from clay soil to sand soil? And if you have, how have you been able to handle the cost questions and stuff like that with that field construction change?
Yeah. We have a research and innovation center in the Netherlands. We have 14 different plots with different soils. And we are doing tests at the moment. We opened the innovation center, the research center, in October last year. So we are collecting now the first data to see what's the optimum soil and what we can do in even soils with some clay in it. The heavy clay soils, we know there's no way that the DrainTalent can work in it. The spaces between the soil particles are too small to extract water in a fast way. What we can do is advise how you can blend clay with sand. I know some people are afraid of it to do it, but we do it in the Netherlands for already 30 years. We can do the calculations, and we know how to optimize that. And that's the most cost-effective way to go from clay to a more sand-based construction. The benefit with DrainTalent is that we install the drainage pipes just below the surface. So it's much cheaper than traditional construction of sports fields if you want to move to sand-based. And also the blending you save because you're using native soil with some sand. And so that's a cost saver as well. Again, there's a risk blending sand with clay, but if you do the right calculation, and we can provide that, it's not a problem. And you have a contractor who knows what he's doing, so that's also very important. Then you can get perfect results, and the experience is there in the Netherlands for already 30 years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just want clarification. So you said the drain pipes are close to soil, how deep, and would there be any concerns, let's say, if you do like a deep tine aeration of hitting those drain tiles?
Yeah, the depth of the drainage pipes under the surface, it depends, but we usually say between the 8 inches and 11 inches. That's the depth what we do with the drainage tiles for the DrainTalent. What's underneath the drainage, we don't care. If it's heavy clay, we love it. We don't care. So that's even better for us. So what we also can do is we can put it in gravel, but you don't need it anymore. The drainage, we can put the drainage just in the sand layer. That's fine for us. That's even working better than in a gravel layer. So you save a lot of cost with that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and going into the system, let's say we're going through a full renovation of clay to sand, and then also installing this DrainTalent technology. Do you have like a ballpark figure of what those costs are? And then if you do have a ballpark figure, how do you discuss kind of the value proposition of considering this transition for your sports field?
I can tell you the price for the installation of the DrainTalent. The construction cost of a field, it depends on the local conditions. What's the quality of the soil? What's the availability of sand? So that's hard to say. That's really the local conditions. What we do with DrainTalent is you can hook up 2 sports fields to 1 DrainTalent if they are beside of each other. So if you do the installation of the DrainTalent with 2 sports fields, the total price is $250,000. And if it's 1 sports field, it will be $170,000. But the benefit of using the DrainTalent is you don't need an irrigation system anymore. You don't need a drainage system, a traditional drainage system anymore. The construction of your field is much simpler compared to standard field constructions. The playing capacity, the playing hours, you double it compared to traditional natural grass. So you can get more revenue out of your field as well. Another benefit is depending on what you're doing, you can connect the DrainTalent to a stormwater front system to collect the water, and then you can reuse the water. So then you save up to 100% of water. If you don't collect it and you connect it to a well or local pond, you still save up to 60% of water because you infiltrate the water into the soil. So you don't have as much evaporation, so you save a lot of water as well. You don't have to oversee it as much because the grass is healthier. So there's a lot of savings with DrainTalent.
Going on the overseeding, is there a type of grass that kind of works best with DrainTalent, or is it pretty much all cool season grasses will work fine?
All cool season grasses work fine, and we are now looking at our testing research and test facility what grasses works best. So, but all work fine. I have seen now this week a picture from one of my guys at field we installed with DrainTalent last year, 20 centimeters with the English white grasses. So wood sown. So perfect. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. And I'm looking at management of the fields now. Does management of a field with DrainTalent require any special expertise out of normal lawn care practices, or?
Well, people are used to deep tine the fields, and that's not necessary anymore. If the most important thing with DrainTalent is to avoid, but it's always with a sports field. You want to avoid the build of thatch layer and decompacting. But decompacting is just depending on how much the soil is compacted. It's just the first 2-3 inches. That's enough usually. So if there's the focus, then you're already good.
So going on that, not the requirement of the deep tine, is that because of the ability to cycle the water with the DrainTalent? Is that why?
Yeah, we can easily yeah, that's correct. We can easily extract the water. So deep tining always, when you talk to managers, one of the first questions you get is, hey, I can't deep tine anymore because the drainage tiles are there. Well, you don't have to. So it's a different way of thinking. It's also when you oversee the field, they say, hey, but it's impossible because you don't have the irrigation anymore. No, but with our system, we can optimize, and then it's perfect germination of the seed, even because it's 24/7 the optimal moisture level. The seed is always has the right moisture to germinate fast, and that's a big advance as well.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, you've worked with a lot of fields in Europe, specifically the Netherlands, and we see all these restrictions. And so in addition to using DrainTalent, can you describe some of the other practices that they've used to eliminate their pesticide inputs as well as reduce their synthetic fertilizers and water inputs?
Yeah. One of the things what we do is compared to North America is we cut our grass short usually, and now you see it's shifting more, and especially in summer times, because our playing season is through fall and winter, because our winters are not as cold as over here. And what we see now is in summertime more a higher length of cutting the grass. What you also see a lot is robotic mowers for the past 7 years now. So they mow every day, and that's increasing the quality of the field as well. And then you see also less weeds, for example. So you get stronger fields with that as well. So that's one of the things what you see. Phrase mowing, one of the things, and after phrase mowing, overseeding. I think one of the most important things of a natural grass field is that people overseed enough, the turf managers. So don't be scared to use enough seed, but use it on the right time. So not when you expect a long time of drought, and use the right kind of seed. So if you don't have an irrigation system, ryegrass, well, there's a big challenge if you overseed ryegrass in May or June when you don't have an irrigation. So that's important as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just curious about the robotic mowers. Are they electric or gas?
Electric. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's a lot of the information that I was interested in, and that I think our audience is interested in. Do you have any additional comments about DrainTalent, about the sports and recreational field and sector in general, sustainable landscaping?
People are always hesitate. If I'm always surprised when I'm in North America if I see how much herbicide, pesticide people are using. And I'm always wondering why. If you start, it starts with the construction of the field. If your soil is wide, your grass will get healthy.
Mhm.
So there's so much what we can do. So it starts always, in my opinion, with the soil. Another thing is, of course, communication. It's very important to explain why you're shifting away from using herbicides and pesticides, and why people maybe see some weeds, for example. It's I won't say impossible, but it's hard to grow a grass field and you will see some weeds, but if it's 1% or 2%, is that a problem? I don't think so.
Yeah.
For a stadium, I see with a stadium is different with the cameras on it and a lot of spectators. Then it has to be perfectly fine. But also in stadiums that I worked, you don't see it. So it's just educating people that they understand that why you're shifting and why they will see maybe a little bit more weeds, but it's not something that's a bad thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Depending on how much. So it's 1%, and yeah, people are used to it in the Netherlands now as well. And first we saw a lot of artificial fields in the Netherlands, lots of them. But now we see really big cities shifting back from artificial to natural grass, which is a good thing. I'm not against artificial, but only when it's really a need for it. But we can do so much with natural grass. It's but it starts with educating and the knowledge.
Absolutely. That's actually a good, it made me remember, because I did want to talk about a little bit about the artificial versus natural grass and kind of comparison for DrainTalent or just natural grass. So you mentioned that now there's a switch back to natural grass. Do you have any theories to that kind of switch back to natural grass from synthetic? Is it because of messaging around synthetic turf, or costs, or another factor?
Several things. If you look in the pro league, the players don't want it.
No.
And for clubs who had artificial grass, it was hard for them to get the players, because the players said, no, you're playing on artificial grass, then I look for another team to play for. So that's one of the things. Injuries. I know that's a hot topic as well, but you see more injuries, burning wounds, all that kind of stuff. Even for little kids, I have to report 50% more injuries on artificial compared to natural grass. So injuries is a big thing. Of course, the cost. Artificial is so expensive. And the technology and the knowledge to optimize natural grass fields are getting better and better, so you can play more and more hours on it. The other thing is, and that's the biggest reason I think, is the sustainable side of artificial turf. We hear a lot of promises. Every year they come up with a new type of artificial. If it's a shock bed or a more environmental way of recycling. But I've only seen now one product what I think can be recycled really well. So the environmental impact of artificial turf is huge. So, but again, I understand in an urban way, in an urban community, and there's so much traffic on a sports field. There's no way, and we have to be honest about that as well. There's no way natural grass can hold that. So, but we can make calculations. How many playing hours you think? Who's playing on the field? When are they playing? Are kids? Are women? Are adults? We have a program and we can calculate how many playing hours you can have on your field. So that's all. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah, those were, thank you for your time, Arno. I really appreciate it. I think this is a great conversation. And we will be having this as a summary on lawnandland.org within a month, but I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.